Marijuana is a drug that is completely illegal in 19 out of the 50 states in the United States. 23 states allow marijuana for medical use only, and 8 states have made marijuana completely legal. In the following paragraphs, I will explain to you why I believe marijuana should not be legalized in our beloved United States. So, in this example, you can see where the marijuana is illegal in the red, and that's states such as New York and Pennsylvania. The yellow is where marijuana is legal but for medical use only, and that includes states like Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and Florida. And in the green, which you can see there are not very many of, those are states where marijuana is completely legal even if it's not for medical use. And that includes states like Alaska, Massachusetts, and most infamous California. There was 8 total where it is completely legal. However, if you were including Washington, D.C., it would be 9. However, I didn't include Washington, D.C. because that's not a state, it's the capital. So, first off, before I go further, I'm going to explain to you what marijuana is. Well, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, marijuana, also called weed, herb, pot, grass, bud, Mary Jane, and a vast number of other slang terms, is a greenish-gray mixture of the dried flowers of cannabis sativa. This product, although portrayed as all natural, is not as harmless as many people think. Marijuana is one of the most well-known drugs in the United States, mostly California, where it is completely illegal. Marijuana, more commonly known as weed, is a plant that is often rolled into a joint and smoked to make the person who is smoking it feel high, as most often referred to. This is possible through a chemical called THC. The more THC in the marijuana, the more stronger the high feeling is. However, THC marijuana tends to make you more sensitive to sounds and hungrier. Now, THC marijuana is not the only type of marijuana. There is also CBD, which is more commonly used for medical reasons due to its ability to relieve pain. So this is an image of just natural marijuana, the natural marijuana plant, and I want to talk further about the THC and CBD because most people don't know this. They just think marijuana is weed and that's it. THC is more of the most commonly used in society. This marijuana is smoked, and even though it gives you that high feeling, the side effects are horrible. It's you get hungry, nauseous, and you crave a lot more things that you usually don't crave. Now that you know what marijuana is, I will now explain to you why we should not legalize marijuana. The most argued reason for legalizing it is for medical use. However, marijuana is not a cure for any illness. It is simply something used in the medical field to slow down the process of certain illnesses and reduce the pain along the way. So it's not going to cure any disease, and it doesn't have any major benefits. It just slows down the pain in people who have certain diseases, and it brings back your appetite kind of, because it does make you crave certain things. While legalizing this drug could potentially be helpful to some, such as those people with those diseases, it will likely cause more problems than it would solve. This drug is in high demand, and legalizing it will make it more easily accessible to those who do not need it for medical use. That is why we should not legalize this drug. Once it's out there, it's almost impossible to reverse. we would be risking a lot to legalize a drug that doesn't cure anything. Even though legalization of this drug is not intended to cause harm, it is extremely likely that most users will abuse this drug instead of use it for good, like medical use. As stated by Christopher Ingram, the amount of marijuana-related Poison Control Center phone calls has nearly doubled from 2013 to 2015. This is one of the proven negative effects of legalizing marijuana, as well as the increase in emergency department visits for adults relating to marijuana use. These effects are serious and should not be taken lightly. Now, there is a lot more effects than just the health harms. Whether society would like to accept it or not, marijuana exists, and even if it's not legal, it's being sold and dealt on the streets everywhere. However, it's not as bad as it could be. The business process is slowed because of the struggle to gather supplies without getting caught. Legalizing marijuana would affect this greatly. The marijuana would be more available and it would be easier for drug dealers to get their supply. Since it's not legal right now, it's going to be harder for people to gather and sell in the streets. But if you legalize it, it's going to be way easier and it's going to speed up this process. And speeding up the processes of these small businesses is going to make it more dangerous, and it could easily become a much bigger problem than it is right now, and it's not going to be as easy to solve. In school, they will always tell us not to do drugs, to stay away from drugs. They teach us about addiction. We hear lectures from police officers about how harmful drugs are and what they could potentially do, and yet still, when the drug dog shows up, there's always one kid that gets taken away in cuffs for the possession of marijuana. Even though we get told over and over not to do drugs, there are kids that still get their drug tests back positive. Marijuana is the most popular amongst teens. The all-natural reputation appeals to many teens who believe since it's natural, it possesses less of a threat than other drugs, while in reality, it poses as much as a threat to your health as any other drug, such as cocaine, meth, and heroin. If this drug, which is not legal, is being spread throughout schools, imagine how much stronger the effect will be if it was legalized. The amount of kids that come to school high and with the possession of drugs will be much more than it already is. Marijuana is bad, just like any other drug. It's not good for you. As stated in Medline Plus, marijuana can cause problems with memory, learning, and behavior. As you can see, marijuana is not made for healthy people like you and me to just roll up and smoke. It is used to ease symptoms of various health problems such as HIV and AIDS and other diseases. Although it is not approved as a medicine by the FDA, it is still used as a helper in boosting appetites and such. And I'm not assuming it will be abused if legalized. It has already been proven that it's being abused in states where it isn't legalized. So what would stop people from abusing it if it was legal? According to the medical director, Malik Burnett, marijuana leads to lower IQ, especially when people start using the drug in their teenage years, which is most common. Lowering the IQ level of people means less people have enough skill to go to college and pursue a career. This can potentially result in our country facing a brain drain or a significant loss of a highly educated, skilled workers in the country, which overall can lead to poverty, and it's going to be very bad for our country and its economy. Is this how we citizens want the United States to be seen as a country? As drug dealers and addicts? Marijuana has many more risks and dangers than health benefits. We as citizens have to decide, are we really willing to take this risk for a drug that isn't even a major cure for any particular disease? This drug creates a whole new problem for society, so why legalize it? The decision is yours to make.